Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman. How are you, Brent?
I'm well, thank you.
Today's podcast, we're continuing with our bear hunt, our recent bear hunt series. This is podcast number 2. If you missed number 1, check it out. These are audio-only podcasts for the most part because we couldn't record them in the field like that.
We Not going to sacrifice battery for these.
Yeah, we were backpacked in, and we just couldn't be running another video camera and batteries and all that in the backcountry. So for those that are avid video watchers, sorry, you're just going to have to listen to this one. But it's a good show, so listen to it on YouTube if you want to. Check it out on iTunes. On this episode, we're about halfway through the hunt. Ryan has taken his first bear. There's only one bear that's been taken so far, and we're halfway through. So as you can see, like the longer you're out in the field during the spring, because we started so early, the better the hunting just gets day after day, because the bears are just coming out of their dens. But it gets cool. We cover some cool information. I think you're going to enjoy it, and you get to hear a little more behind the scenes. So if you watch the video of the hunt, this is just a little more behind the scenes kind of info. So I hope you like it. With that, we're going to jump right in. I just want to plug some of our partners. Use the code GRITTY at Mountain Ops to save free shipping. Use the code GRITTY for an alpaca raft. If you're eyeballing those, we have a code. It's good for like 4 weeks. We're going to try to extend it, but it's GRITTY 2020, and you'll save 10% off an alpaca raft. And do that. If you're getting a raft, do it. Use the code. Help us out. Also, use the code GRITTY at Seek Outside for a shelter and sissy sticks. We use those trekking poles like crazy, and they're a key piece of equipment going up and down these cliffs and these hills. I'm blown away. They're a great product. They're carbon fiber upper, aluminum lower. We were out of stock for quite a while. Now, Big Sissy Gear, they're back in stock over there. So we are golden. So get yourself a pair and use the code GRITTY at Heather's Choice if you're doing some backpacking or just want some food storage. Check it out. All right, let's get into this. Hope you enjoy this podcast.
I guess I just can't be on that, guys.
Oops.
Dang it.
Getting ready to record a podcast here. Right?
Yep. I guess so.
Sly's trying to get out of it again.
Crap everywhere inside the shelter. This is about as much video as this podcast is going to get because we're trying to conserve electricity. Ryan, what you eating over there?
Oh, this is some kind of a summer sausage that I made.
Nice.
For hunts. I filmed a bunch of them before all the hunts, and they're good.
And what's that right there you're putting on it?
Putting a little jalapeno garlic jelly on there. Got canned up.
And folks, we had it last night.
You folks seem to like it.
And it was amazing. So this is part 2 of our bear hunt podcast series.
Yep.
Here. We got Sly here.
How's it going?
How you doing, Sly?
Doing good, man. Living good out here.
And this is about as much video as we're going to get. Trying to conserve electricity. You can see our glorious yard sale here. It started raining on us. We had to pile in. So we're back after a 5-day leg of our trip. Yep. We spiked out, went 5 days, and we got a bear. So we're going to go over that today on today's podcast and kind of recap some experiences and what we've learned and bring you guys along. So I'm going to turn this camera off. So all you YouTubers, you're going to have to just listen to it. All right. So we took off for 5 days, went up to an area we've never been before. And why did you select this area? How did you select it?
Well, with the whole COVID thing, I had a lot of time to
E-Scout?
E-Scout. No, it's an area I'd seen a couple years ago. It looked pretty good, and I've been wanting to get in there. It's a grind to get into it. It had everything you kind of look for this early spring bear. Had this big, gnarly north slope with a bunch of cuts going up into it. It also had crick at the bottom, pretty good rager at the bottom, which, I don't know, spring bear, it just seems like big rivers or creeks or whatever going through the bottoms. It's just kind of like it's like a magnet for them. It's where they're coming out of their den, and it greens up really good down on those bottoms. Both sides, north slope, south slope, down along those creeks with the moisture and the heat. Yeah, I'd seen that, and it also, on the map work, showed a really good vantage. This big ridge on the south side of the big canyon there, and it gave us access to look into all those little cuts. For the most part, a lot of the bottom. It was like, you kind of want to look at that lower quarter of the mountain early, and we're early. We got in here as brown. It's greening up now because it's been so hot, but that lower quarter just starts to green, and it kind of moves up from there. And we had a great vantage for this one just nasty, gnarly area. And that's on the map. That's right where I had put the X.
Yep.
And lo and behold, sometimes you get lucky, and that's where the bear is.
Yeah, it's kind of, James, what do you think? It's pretty sweet how Ryan did his research beforehand, and then he got there, and sure enough, there's a bear there.
He pretty much does that on most hunts he goes on. So it's kind of funny because, he picks spots, and you go in there, and sometimes it takes a few days, but he usually turns up some animals. So there's a ton of deer in there. Hundreds and hundreds it seemed like, but guess what there was none of? No sheds.
Yeah, that came up as well. It looked like a great shed spot on the south slope. But the north slope was just as nasty as you could ask for bears. And, there's kind of like cuts in the rocks and caves and easy access to den up.
Yeah.
In the winter and come out in the spring here. So, we definitely don't have the lion's share of bears out yet. There's still a lot that are kind of probably up in the snow line and up above it, but there's some cropping up down in the bottoms, and we've only seen one bear, and we just happened to kill that bear. So
right. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Because, well, first of all, the area you selected, the vantage was amazing, but it was a 2,000-foot drop in elevation down to where your bear was.
Right.
Thanks for that. So we had to go 2,000 feet down and then 2,000 feet up. That's a serious grind. And we talked about if there was a bear cross canyon from us, then we'd go 2,000 feet down and then 2,000 feet up to the other side if we had to.
Right.
And then back down and then back up because we had our camp on.
Yeah. Just brutal, right? And when we first saw that bear, I don't know, what would you say? He was probably 1,500 feet down. He was pretty high up on the hill. He was a good 500 feet off that creek bottom, maybe.
I'd say even he could have been
a little more.
Yeah.
We didn't see where he came from, but he was kind of in that area. When we put the stalk on, we noticed when we got down there that he'd been in the area, and he'd been out for a bit.
Yeah.
There was some sign. He had pad tracks all over. And so he'd been out. But yeah, it was just a neat little spot. Very little green to show. But yeah, there was a nice boar down there.
Yeah, and the sign that we came across primarily was insects, hunting, like flipping rocks and tearing up logs.
Yeah. It's kind of what they're doing now just before it greens up. They're on the grass. I think they'd, prefer grass this time of year, especially right out of the den. The scat we saw down there was grass. Probably wasn't the lush green that he was looking for, but he was getting what he could for sure. And it's surprising day to day.
Yeah,
how much it's growing.
We're still 14 days or something from the day you shot your bear last year.
Right.
And the bear the first bear you took was probably, I don't know, it's hard to say, but he had mass quantities of fat on him.
Yeah, he was a spring bear that gave us fat to render.
Right.
Down. This little but or not little, but this guy had zero fat.
None.
No fat at all. Nothing we could render down. We ended up having to cook him over a fire. There was nothing we could do in the jet boil without any fat to render down. So
pretty wild how different the two bears were in terms of that fat load.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, did last year's bear come out of hibernation just with leftover?
Right.
Or did he put it on,
Mm-hmm.
in a 2-week window or something? I got to think he just carried it over.
Yeah, you'd think so. Because we weren't that late. What was it, May 5th? Yeah, last year. So, yeah, he couldn't have been out that long. And even if he was out, a solid month, I don't know if he could have put that kind of fat on. Quite honestly, I don't know.
We also know that bear was in prime feeding country, like some real luscious, high calorie.
Yeah. The flowers were out. He was rooting around. He was getting a lot of stuff from that. This bear was kind of in whatever he came across mode. He was flipping rocks and looking, and like you noticed, and you flip some rocks over. There's stuff under there. I mean, there's green shoots under those rocks, even amongst all the brown grass. Kind of green shoots growing under there, and there's some bug larvae and ants and food source for sure.
Well, there was quite a bit of this bear. One thing we haven't talked about is he's not black. He's grizzly.
He's pretty.
He's like a grizzly blondish.
He's like a mini grizz, right?
And then I was gonna say he had a real fluffy, like fat look to him. He looked roly poly.
Yeah.
And so I expected if he's find a lot more fat just sticking out everywhere. But it turns out
he just had that winter, coming out of hibernation coat, just really thick coat.
His coat is glorious. That's the
glorious.
word.
That is
glorious.
Very glorious. I know when I first laid eyes on him, I was like, James was standing right there. I was like, he just looked bright red.
Yeah.
He was like glowing on the mountain in that brown grass and rock. And he just looked red to me. And then when he kind of turned, I could tell he had blonde and then kind of a red down his back in that sunlight. It's funny how they change colors. Like they just look bright.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm really curious what he looks like in the sun versus the shade. But
in actuality, when we ended up putting him on the ground, he's blonde, but he's brown. He's the same color as a grizz.
Yeah.
He's got that brown with blonde
highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool bear. I was off glassing another ridge when you spotted him, and he was not far from camp. He just popped right up.
I was actually looking at some deer, and just beyond the deer, about 600 yards away on the other side, where he was just kind of working.
I heard he was a really, really tough spot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How it all worked out. We want to tell
flash.
that story.
Like those bears, they're with your naked eye, they just stick out.
They pop. Yeah. It's funny when you're bear hunting, you spend all day glassing and you're like straining your eyes. What's that little black spot there? And you kind of go back to it all the time. And then when you actually see a bear, you're like, oh, yeah. None of those were bears.
None of those were bears.
They just jump out like, oh, there he is.
Yeah. Which is neat about bears because you don't have to be a great glasser to find bears,
No.
And especially when you're in open country like this, when things turn green, especially, and you have a black bear on that, everything's green.
Right.
Everything. When everything's green and something's not green, it just pops. Right now, it's not green yet, so everything's black and brown in different shades, and so it's a lot harder to spot them right now than it is later in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, when you're looking at a patch of green, or even better, when it's chartreuse at that level, then they just jump out.
Which is
you can see
bright green, folks.
Well, for example, last year we picked up Chocolate Thunder.
You did.
Naked eye,
2 miles away.
2 miles away. But he was in this luscious chartreuse patch of green grass. So.
Yep.
And
you could tell he was chocolate too.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the black, inky black.
Yep. Yeah, the
Hence
ones
the
that,
name
that
Chocolate
fool you
Thunder.
are those like cinnamon, blonde, reddish colored bears.
Yeah.
Sunlight hits them, and I don't know, they end up being 3 different colors.
Well, on this bear, when you waved me down, you're like, hey, I spotted one, I was like, this is cool because we came so early.
Yeah.
And this is really just for us to learn what it's like early versus late, like to understand the behavior of bears in all,
All
from the moment they pop out of their den and there's no replacement for just doing. And we got the days and everybody's on lockdown. So we came out a lot earlier than we had planned.
Right.
And it was neat to get on one so early in the season and then see what it's doing, what elevation it was at, kind of where it's been hanging. And it gives you a lot more confidence that there's other bears out here right now. They might be harder to find. There might be fewer of them.
Might be moving a little slow right now, just coming out, not putting on miles. And yeah, there's definitely different stages. This early stage is interesting. And, it'd be way easier if we were finding big salad bowls and they're just parked there. I mean, those are bears you can get in on with a bow real easy once they just park it on a patch of grass. But right now, that bear, like we said, he was going around, he's kind of flipping rocks, and the stalk didn't go fast.
It was rough.
He took us places. He drug us along the mountain for ridge after ridge after ridge.
What did I say the distance? So when we first saw him, he was 1,200 yards away.
Yep, 1,300 yards away.
And then ranged. Okay, so then by the time we killed him from our camp, line of sight, would I say he was 2,400 yards?
Yeah, I think back to where he originally was another 800 yards.
Beyond where you first saw him?
Beyond where we first saw him.
So 2,000 yards total,
yeah.
Somewhere in there, 2,100. I think it was 2,100.
Something like that.
He almost doubled the distance walking directly away from us.
And he just did it with the most perfect timing because as soon as we'd come over one ridge, we're all just, you don't need glass when you're in that tight. He's going to be within 200-300 yards. And we're just looking around and sure enough, when we'd spot him and he would just have ducked and rolled over another one. And then there was at one point where we saw him go up and over and into this just snarly, rocky, it looked like a spot he'd go, it was kind of warm part of the day, and just hit some shade, take a siesta and just hang out. And so, we, without seeing where he went from there, we just parked it. I know you and James got a pretty good nap during that time.
Hey, I was really vigilant.
Sprawled out
I was watching his back trail in the blazing sun. Well, Ryan had the
shaded tree.
But I figured, Ryan was on duty over there where he was most likely to go. But there was a blind spot. If I wasn't where I was at, there is a blind spot where he could sneak back, so I felt like I needed to be there.
If you would have backtracked, yeah, you would have picked him up for sure.
But after about an hour, I was like, I need a nap. James is taking a nap. And I could see Ryan, diligently looking where we last saw the bear, just, looking. I was like, yeah. I took a nap.
I had a sheep walk by me while you guys were napping. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. When you first spotted him, I was so far away, glassing some other spot, that I didn't get a chance to see him and put the camera on him. And it's frustrating because I really only have, I love watching bears do bear things, but we didn't have the time to ever do that. I filmed his butt walking over a hill, and then we had to run to the next hill, and then his butt going over the hill, and then I'd run to the next hill, and I could never get the camera on him until you shot him.
Yeah, he never gave us just the most view. I mean, the most time we had was when you were glassing from the ridge, and we looked at him, and it just, boy, I think James and I both, we didn't think he was going to go far.
Yeah.
We figured we had all day. He was just going to be feeding down in that lower quarter, and he did, but it took us a while to get down there. It's steep, rocky, and then he just kept feathering over another ridge, and then those bottoms are so hard to get down.
Yeah. I
mean, the rocks and just trying to not get cliffed out just to cover 200 yards to get to the other next ridge is brutal. It's noisy.
Yeah.
and I think I fell once. It's just nasty.
I'm trying to film you with one hand and use a trekking pole in the other to get this stalk on camera because I want people to know what it's like, on the actual stalk. Mm-hmm. But some of that treacherous country it's tough to film.
Yeah. I don't know what it translates to on the camera, but it's steep.
Yeah,
and it's rough to just especially those
when
bottoms.
you're hauling ass, because if you don't,
time is
that bear could be
Yeah.
As it was, we were hauling butt to the one ridge, and then he'd be gone. We'd haul down to the next, and and you just don't. You have to be that fast with a bear because of how they wander.
Yeah, and you can look at a bear and just kind of see them, kind of just moseying along, but they're covering country faster than you think.
Yeah,
usually. I mean, they can really put it on. I know last year we watched a bear we called polar bear. Mm-hmm. That sucker in the area we were in, I mean, he just cruised fast. He swam a creek, came up the other side, and they just put miles on. But yeah, it was funny when you guys were snoozing a little bit, and then just happened to look down, and there was this one little patch coming out the other side of that shaded, rocky hole that we figured he was in. And we were just praying he hadn't gave us the slip and gone faster than we thought and got up and over the next one. And sure enough, I mean, it was blazing bright red. Here he is, shining like a diamond on the on the mountain for just a few seconds.
Yeah.
And you guys, I don't know if James, you saw him, I think, go up and over.
I did see him. Yeah, I just looked over and I see him kind of crest over that little ridge there.
Yeah.
And he went down and looking at the canyon from where we were. It was another one. It's just a little bit bigger, real shaded, dark, nasty, rocky, cliffed out. And that gave us opportunity to range and figure out, well, we can get within 250 yards of wherever he's going to come out, unless he goes down. But the way he was headed, he's either going to go up or across. And he just took the kind of upper rim of that rocky draw. And we no sooner got there, we actually filled up our water bottles at the bottom because we were just blazing hot, and it was the first creek we'd come across. We filled up real fast and got to that ridge to set up, assuming we were going to be waiting there for a while for him to come out. And I don't know if you had the camera on yet, but I was looking across.
Just turned it off when you spotted him.
Just turned it off, and
there he is.
There he was, right there. We had zero time to again film him or anything like that. But
talk to me a little bit about, you could have just shot this bear 3 or 4 times at 500, 400 yards and so on. But and you see a lot of guys doing that right now.
Sure.
What's your idea on that? Why didn't you post up and blast him sooner?
I don't know. I think 300 has always been the goal. 300 is a gimme shot. Right, you're not gonna hit him bad. You're not gonna miss. 300 and in is a gimme shot, and I just always have that in my head. No matter what it is, doesn't matter. It's just got to get to that 300 mark. Once you get to that 300 mark ish, you feel like you did your job. Now it's a gimme shot. Could we have shot him at 400 or 500? Yeah, probably would have got him. Man, I like that guarantee though, and it just feels like once you're at that range, you're golden.
I think it takes a little more patience, but the reality is it is nearly 100% success.
Yeah.
Where
it is. When
you start poking out a little further, and depending on how good you are and such, you got to start paying attention to things like wind and drop and all that kind of stuff. And
there's times, I mean, Brian, a lot of times you get a quick shot, right? And when you're reaching out 500 plus, you don't have everything right where it's supposed to be on lockdown.
Right.
You might rush a shot a little bit and you might just hit him bad. And I don't know. I just don't like that. And honestly, I don't spend enough time out there to feel comfortable at 500 and beyond. There's guys that do, and they can make that shot no problem, easy every day.
It's also,
I don't spend that much time out. I mean, I shoot a lot, but I also know there's all these other conditions There's wind. There's all these different things. The bears move. I don't know. Where I'm comfortable is 300 and in. Obviously, I take longer shots than that all the time at the range, but it's just always been the thing. I think my dad ingrained that in me. Must have when we started, was just get as close as you can, where it's a guarantee.
Well, I think it also, it depends on what kind of hunt you want to have. There's something neat about getting to within 200 yards or 250 of a bear like that, or closer.
Yeah.
And not taking the shot. Look how much we learned chasing that bear, where he wandered, where he was going to go, what he kind of did.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun versus
shooting from far away and
just
being done.
Seeing him, and it's like, well, he's 1,100.
Yeah.
I can take that.
There's something cool about getting closer.
Yeah. And look, there's guys that do it great. That's great. I'm not bashing on them. I just want to do it different. That's all. 300 and in is good. And, like last year's mule deer, he was 330. It's not like we have this
You'll push
locked in.
a little bit.
Yeah. So
I think Ranella,
that was the farthest shot I've ever taken on a deer.
I remember watching Stephen Ranella on Meat Eater years and years ago, and he's like, 400 is my cap.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I want to be, 400 and in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he shot one of these, a beautiful buck with Callahan, with Ryan, old Cal, and it was like 390 or something. He's like, yeah, if it was 10 yards farther or 20 yards farther, I was going to
let him
go and try to get closer.
Right.
And people do, they put that kind of cap on there. And
I think if you don't, you do end up just taking the shot. You might see him at 800 yards and just, he's 800, boom, just drop down and get prone and take that shot. I don't know. There's a lot of fun missed doing that.
Yeah.
That stalk we did was pretty epic. Yeah, that whole stalk kind of made the hunt, how it all went down.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been nearly as cool, as exciting, as fulfilling if we would have taken him from a longer distance.
Right.
I think it worked out just great. And we got to get into that 250, 260 range, and at that range, there's no doubt. Yeah, we got to kind of stop him. He still wanted to just keep walking out of our lives, but
it's wild though, because you hit him and he tumbled in the steep country.
Well, yeah, that hole he came out of, he kind of went across the top end of, and below that, yeah, there was some cliffs, and I don't know, what did we figure? He's 200 plus feet, and he rolled off that cliff.
200-foot drop.
And you worry about, like, what's the meat like and all that when we get to the bottom. Not one bruise, not one broken anything. Hide was in perfect shape.
Yep.
No, they're just tough. He took that tumble and just, landed where he did, and we got everything we wanted. Now, where we shot him, if he would have just not rolled off that cliff, would have been a lot easier from where we had to go down. Because where we had to go down, it was brutal. That rock field down there was ugly.
Yeah, it was some gnarly country.
Yeah. And it added probably, another 400 feet down and back up.
Yeah, but in the most wicked, cliffed out, rocky terrain.
Yeah. Yeah. But great experience overall. That's just what makes the hunt. Makes a great story too.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. We spent a couple more days there, just hoping we could see another bear coming out, checking with glass, but no cigar.
No. Figured out it was time to move. That was kind of the bear of that area. And there's probably, another bear or two in that giant drainage, but we weren't seeing them. So we've got these days, and we've got other X's on the map that we want to go explore and look at. So, while it's still early and it feels like it's just getting like prime time.
Yeah.
We're starting to see the flowers come out. The grass has grown several inches since we've been here. It feels like we're on the cusp of seeing a lot more bears.
This hunt is only going to get better.
That's right.
That's what I like about the timing here is it's only going to get better. And, we watched your bear just wander all over and cover country. And I think right now, coming out of the den like this, and if they are hungry and he had no fat on him, then there's no fixed food source where he can just camp. He's got to move because he's grounding every last bit of insect larvae and green grass and flowers that are out. I think we're going to still run into the case where bears are on the move. Makes them a lot harder to kill, a lot harder to hunt, because they can be on one mountain and they just not running from you at all, just doing what bears do.
Right.
They can be on the other ridge and then give you the slip just because they wander so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to put a finger on them sometimes. Bears are, yeah, like you say, that's the best line is bears do what bears do.
Yeah.
There's never like a set thing.
But contrast that with the timing last year and the timing the year before. Because we've talked about this in the past. Year before, you were here during more of the rut, and everything was green.
Yeah. And, yeah, Jeff and I, the area we were in for that hunt, we just noticed we would see a lot of bears. We saw quite a few bears.
Yeah.
But they were moving. And unless you got into that perfect scenario where you came across the boar and he had found a sow and, during the rut, that's great. And it's a done deal. He's going to stick with that and give you plenty of time. But when they're just cruising country, like the head end of that rut, it's hard to catch up to them in this kind of country, especially where it's just, and it takes you a lot of hours just to move ridge to ridge.
And because there's feed everywhere, there's no localized area where you're going to find them concentrated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Early June, mid-June. I mean, there's green grass top to bottom. 6,000 feet to the bottom. And so, yeah, it makes it difficult. There is a happy sweet spot there where it's just like these patches, the lower end down by the creeks, and where those bears congregate down there. And we're like just on the cusp of that. And it's like it takes away a lot of the mountain, so you just see more of them.
Yeah, that's kind of how last year when we killed 5 bears in like 5 days. That was magical.
Right.
But the timing was such that there were only a few salad bowl pockets of green where it seemed like all the bears were flocking to a couple of those spots. So if you just pick a couple of those areas, timing really was and really is a critical part of, you're going to increase your odds of success with timing the chartreuse growth timing.
That's right.
But where it's early, where it's only in a couple of spots, because then you can like focus on those areas. Otherwise, when everything turns chartreuse, it's like it's a lot harder.
Yeah, they're top to bottom.
Especially if you're in. I would assume I haven't hunted bears in Montana yet, but I've seen some film and talked to some guys, and it's thick. It can be a lot thicker country with just a few open spots.
Yeah,
but it seems like guys have a hard time, filling a bear tag at times.
Sure. In
that kind of country where everything's greened up.
Yeah.
And it's thick.
Yep. Yeah, there's places in Montana where I just go at them with a bow as well. I mean, they find, you say there's thick all around, and there's these meadows, park-like areas amongst the thickness, the thick timber, and they'll get in those greens, and they're parked there, and they're just feeding and feeding and feeding. And they give you plenty of time to get in there. They're not wandering all over the place. Those are very bow-conducive type spots. The place we're at right now, it's not the best archery type area. You could definitely get it done, but you better stack a lot of days in your favor to be able to.
It's going to be tough to fill 2 tags versus 1.
Right.
When you were on your big bear last year, that bear was prime for bow hunting.
It was.
He just was camped at the bottom.
He was in a perfect little park. He wasn't moving very far. He was fat and happy. We saw him. He was sleeping. He had chased that other bear up a tree. Yeah, that was his spot. He's going to be there probably till he started rutting and going and looking for
a great bow hunting spot.
Yeah. Yep. But those are few and far between.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm
where
enjoying the bear meat so much, especially the bear meat from this area, these mountain bears. It's hard to resist not filling the freezer with meat and canning a bunch of it.
These bears are just, I've never had a bad one. They're not eating fish, and not digging in dumpsters. So, no, they're all really good. In fact, yeah, we cooked up some of this bear on the fire the other day. Now, I'd gone and forgot the seasoning, but it's all right.
It didn't matter.
It's all right.
Was that good or what?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was bummed that it didn't have a little bit of fat because that, rendering it, making little crispies in the jet boil with that rendered oil is pretty hard to beat.
It is.
But it gave us nothing to be able to do that with. So hopefully the next bear that you shoot has a lot of fat on it.
Big fat boar.
We can get some of that, those crispies done up, crispy bear nuggets.
Yeah, your bear just looked fat and roly-poly just because his coat is so thick and fluffy.
It's so thick.
Like grizzly-ish.
You talked me into keeping it again. Yeah.
This time you cut the paws off.
Yeah. Tried to shave a little weight. I'll just get I'll just tan it again. Like the bears from last year. And
they're a lot cheaper to tan with the paws removed. And if you're going to throw it on the floor on a couch or something,
right,
it's just a lot better.
Yeah, trying to be real careful, getting that thing nice and dry, keeping it dry and everything, keeping the flies off it. This one would have been a hard one to just leave on the mountain, the hide. It's so thick and
it's
just
pretty.
A beautiful color, super thick. So couldn't have been a better hide.
Chocolate Thunder had color and size to him, but I don't think it was thick like this.
It wasn't as thick. It was nice, but not like this. Yeah. This is as thick as it gets.
Your first bear, the black one, the big fat one, he had thick fur.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice when they're early like this. They're usually pretty good hides on them. But again, I don't know. You got a way of talking me into keeping these.
Dude, it shined like a diamond.
Heavy hides.
Deny that. It's gorgeous.
I'll thank you later. But once I get it all tanned up.
You got a mini grizz.
Yeah.
It's just, this is what's neat too, is there are areas where I've hunted a lot of bear. They're all black. It's very rare that you come across a color phase. One time I hunted the blues in Oregon for bear, and I saw one of the prettiest bears I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Blonde, like yellow, just a amazing color on it. But for the most part, it's black.
Right.
But up in here, man, you're as likely to see a color phase as you are a black bear.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty neat because, they're just so rare.
Yeah.
In my experience.
Yeah, there's definitely areas in Washington. I mean, we see, west side is jet blacks. East side, a lot more opportunity to find a lot of cinnamons. We see a lot more cinnamons. And then, places like this where we're at, gosh, blonde, cinnamon, chocolate, and jet black. You just don't know what you're going to see at any time. Surprisingly, the blonde isn't that rare, We see a handful, and I've been in the blues as well and seen majority color phase. I see way less black than like chocolates or blonde. There's quite a few, and then cinnamon colored. bears.
Yeah. What does Forrest Gump say? Life's like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're going to
get. That's what it's like out here. It's kind of fun.
That adds to the hunt, too.
No,
not knowing what you're going to see.
Yeah, I prefer, take any bear, any good mature boar, but kind of like these color phase bears.
Yeah. It's pretty neat being here. The the pack out, we didn't debone it.
Nope.
We weren't packing out more than one bear between the three of us, and we did have a boat, so you could float down a bunch of that weight.
Yeah.
Come down the river. We basically packed one boat up, then you floated the boat down.
Right.
And then we picked up the other two boats because we each have our own alpaca raft.
Yep.
And then we ferried across. We just crossed the river in the boats. One pass, one crossing. Wrap the boats up, hang them in a tree, leave them down by the water. It's a slick setup.
It's super slick. I love those rafts. Those alpacas are just, man. I think the mule is 7 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's not going to kill you. I got a caribou. It's 5 pounds. A little bit tighter quarters, but still plenty. And putting everything in those holes like we do, like this, I could put all the meat, the hide, my rifle, all my camp inside the hole. Yeah, that was a nice float for me. You guys were all hiking and sweating. I'd go a little ways. I'd pull up to the shore and kind of just lean back and wait to see you guys again.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
You float fast.
We were
too.
cursing you.
Spring runoff, it puts you down. You just got to be super careful. Like, if you haven't seen the river, you better get eyes on it, or at least know it, because you can get some pretty, nasty, especially as the water's rising. When we first got here, we waded across it.
Yep.
I think you were half naked. James and I were smart.
I'm stripped down to naked from the waist down.
Yeah, we brought some
waders,
lightweight Gore-Tex waders, but then coming back, with the heat and everything that we've had, it's just gotten raging.
Yeah.
And, there's spots that you get in big trouble if you don't pull out in plenty of time. So you got to be smart about it.
Well, it was fast. You're covering ground in the river in a way you can't on land.
Yeah.
You can really see how this would work for getting into some remote areas for elk or deer or even bear on a river that's, a little more. This is whitewatery.
Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly in some spots.
Yep.
It's chill in areas, but it can get wild.
You definitely got to be on your game and,
but
walk ahead and scout out your area if you don't already know it.
But Alpaca has whitewater rafts too.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the whole kind of setup where you can load all that gear or an animal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of important.
And I mean, the worst part, like, there's some rollers and stuff that we could have probably bounced through, but you're going to get wet. I don't want to get wet back here.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is, in another situation like this, what do you think about bringing the dry suits and you put you put everything in the hole? You're packed, so nothing is not in the hole.
Yep.
Everything's loaded into the boat, sealed up, watertight. And that's slick as hell because there's just no way it can get lost. If your boat flips, everything stays in there. And that's my question. If you brought the waders, the chodas.
Yep.
But what if you just brought the dry suit and you use that to cross rivers and so on, and then you throw that sucker on and you float down the river with everything in your hole?
Well, it'd be slick, super slick, because like you said, I brought the chodas, but you still, and I put my rain jacket on, and you hit rollers, you can just get wet. So where the chodas stop, they're just a hip boot, you just get wet. And these alpacas, they've got that butt pad, that you blow up butt pad, which is nice because it keeps you dry and
keeps you off the bottom.
But no, I think, I don't know, maybe you know better about the weight of those dry suits, but I'm assuming they're not too crazy.
Like a
heavy.
pound.
Yeah.
Or less. They were super light.
It'd be well worth it because, you just don't want to get all your clothes wet back in these type of places.
They started with a really light. They had one specially made for alpaca raft for lightweight, but they said that it would tear or it just was too fragile. So they I think it's Katmai or something like that makes it, and they sell it through Alpaca Raft. I didn't feel like we filmed you a bunch on some nasty spots because we wanted to, get the shots, and you're shooting the river and let people see what it's like.
You were hoping I was gonna flip over.
Well, maybe a little, but I didn't see any part along the river where if you had a dry suit on and everything was in the hole, you couldn't just shoot the river all the way down. Mm-hmm. Did you feel that way, or did you feel like it was right in between, too low, too deep?
I think if you were real aggressive, like you had some experience, kayaking and stuff, you could do it.
Oh yeah,
for sure. You're just gonna get wet, so a dry suit would solve that. But you better know how to work a boat and avoid those rocks, because they'll creep up on you pretty fast.
I think in that case too, self-bailing would be better.
Probably right. Yeah.
But I don't believe they make the mule self-belling, but they do the Explorer, I think, and one of the others. Because we took on some water.
Oh yeah.
But it's a short stretch. I don't think it would swamp the boat. Anything out there.
No.
What we were doing.
It's just if you're just in boots or something like that, you're going to get wet. No doubt about it. But it's not going to fill up to the point. But, just those rafts, the thing I like about them is they just cut water really well. Like, you can control them super fast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had talked about, like, sitting down in those things versus
Kneeling.
I still feel like I'm in way more control kneeling.
Do you?
As long as there's no, like, threat of, hitting a rock and hitting your knee on the rock, that's going to crush your kneecap.
Yeah.
But, no, I feel real comfortable, like, controlling from my knees. And I'm still, center of gravity, it's very low. Just feel like I got a lot of good bite, and I'm more centered on that thing. When you sit in the back, it controls pretty easy, but it's not nearly as like sharp.
Yeah.
To control, especially when you're trying to cut through little skinny sections of rocks and whitewater.
Well, I just want to go and whitewater raft with it a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And get real comfortable with it, because it's so handy if you're able to load up your boat up there 3-4 miles. You could be down here in 10 minutes.
Absolutely. It's fast.
I mean, you were hauling.
It's fast, especially with spring runoff.
We were walking like, holy cow, like we'd walk a whole stretch, about a mile, and you were there in minutes.
Yeah. I was just, rolling down, looking at Canadian geese and
mergansers,
everything along the river, and then I'd wait.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, so that's a neat tool to have on these hunts right now. They're a game changer. They are so light.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usable.
Yep. No, I'm looking forward to using that in a lot more places. Montana is just built for boats. There's a lot of rivers in Montana.
Yeah.
So, and some access spots that are tough to get to without one.
Yeah. Now, the Caribou, is it relatively new?
I don't believe so.
No.
I think it's been out.
I think they have a newer boat. They talked to me a little bit about.
Yeah.
They're coming out with.
Yep.
It's hard to beat the Mule.
Yeah. The Mule's 500 capacity, but what do they say? It'd take more if you
I think it's
to.
400.
For the Mule?
Mm-hmm. The Explorer's 5.
Okay.
But it weighs 1 pound.
Well, I think the Caribou is 4. Pretty sure that Mule is 500. And then
maybe 6 for the.
But didn't Thor say like it's kind of a lower rating?
Yeah,
well?
they definitely have it conservatively rated,
yeah.
Which you could get away with more for sure.
Yeah. No, they're great. I wish I'd have had one a long time ago, but yeah, I'm playing with this Caribou, and it's definitely a smaller fit.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you pack everything in the hull, which you can easily do with any of them, I'll take that 5-pound boat over a 7-pound boat.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Well, James, what do you think so far?
Yeah, it's been a fun trip. It's been an adventure. So, yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, I like it. It's awesome. Rough country. I'm still getting used to the whole kayaking thing. But it takes some getting used to. I like
told
it.
James,
It's an adrenaline rush. It's like, oh, man, I'm not used to this.
It does wear you out because you get that rush of adrenaline, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm used to, hiking, not rafting. So
I've fallen out of boats and rivers way more serious than this lots of times.
Falling out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Deschutes, So it's like, you're not, yeah.
Yeah, I told James, just follow me yesterday, last night, shooting back over the river here, and he didn't follow me.
I thought I did.
I saw Ryan shoot across.
I was like, just make sure you don't hit that rock because you'll tip.
Flip over.
And I was like, follow
right?
me. No, but you went on the inside. I went straight across, and then I looked back, and James is rolling right past it.
I did kind of go close to it.
And then
I was watching James. I'm like, is he steering that? Is he doing anything?
I was going for the gnarly section. That's what I was doing.
It looked like he was having fun. He had a smile on his face the whole time.
Yeah.
But then the exit, too. Both of your guys' exit off the river was
not
pretty lame.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
It's pretty ugly.
Oh, dude, I had the paddle in one hand and the video camera in the other, and I was like, I'm just going to hit this rock. I'm going to hit this rock, too. It's all for the video, right?
All for the video. I can't believe you didn't drop that phone.
I had an iron grip on it, but it is waterproof.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want it to land in the drink, but it's all been kind of a learning experience, all between the documenting the adventure and also having the adventure, But we're getting it down bit by bit, getting better at it. It's been fun.
Yeah, and we got some days left, so you're up, and the grass is
Popping.
like crazy. So we're going to kind of focus a little lower on the hill, still try to get vantages to look into that lower quarter, but I feel like with the flowers out right now and the grass is coming up, we're going to see a lot more bears here in this next week.
And today is kind of an all-day on and off rain day.
Yeah.
According to the forecast. We're using the Garmin InReach to kind of keep track. And, yeah, on and off rain. And then tomorrow it looks like it's going to quit raining, but it's going to be a little chilly, and then it's going to get hot. And so with this moisture and the heat coming,
that's perfect.
It should explode.
Yeah, for sure.
Green everywhere.
Bears are going to be happy about that. So, yeah, I think our hottest days are coming in like 3 or 4 days since we've been here. And it's been bloody hot already in places.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It was kind of warm. It's
Ryan wilts in the heat.
I do. That's my kryptonite, man.
The other day when it was hot, your face turns another shade of reddish purple.
Yeah, I got sensitive skin.
It changes color like
wind or sun. My face just gets bright red. Like if I'm hunting all day long and on a windy day, whether it's eastern Montana or wherever, and I might not get it during the day, but then when it stops blowing and I come in, my face is just on fire.
Throbbing.
Yeah, it's bright red, it's puffed up, and sun and wind do that to me.
But you don't seem to struggle much in the cold.
I love the cold.
Yeah. What do you think about that, James? Are you into the cold?
I like them both, honestly. I think they both add like a different element. I like that cold mule deer hunt we were on because it was like, it's cool to photograph. You know what I mean? It's freezing. Everybody's cold and there's weather.
Photographers love that nasty.
Yeah. This is more dry, deserty, and it's like, it's hard to get some of those shots sometimes, but
like early morning, late evening.
Yeah, you got early morning and late evening, and you got to kind of make it count at those times.
Yeah. The ticks have been popping.
I was gonna say something about that. We should probably talk about ticks because
they're James' favorite thing.
I hate them. Yeah,
James has his socks pulled over his
bottom of pants.
pants.
You have a strategy, James.
I do. I've been in tick country before, and I don't like them. And so I try to keep really good track of that. I've gotten dug in on a few times in the past, and so I'm just really vigilant about checking. Last night, man, I had the itchies. I was like, I was literally rolling over and like checking my hair every couple hours. And
it's funny watching James after the mention of tick. It could be a false alarm or whatever.
Yeah,
his hand is like all over his neck and his face. And
it's like this morning he's boiling water, about to dump it in his cup. I'm like, are those mouse turds on the lid of that pot? Sure enough. You got visited last night right on your jet boil.
I hate mouse turds.
I could tell you weren't too thrilled.
No. You wanted to throw the whole pot away.
Yeah, if I wasn't out here and I needed it, I would throw it away. But I ended up cleaning it off with some boiling water and like sterilizing it. But
that's funny. Well, we've got days ahead of us, so we'll get back on the show and keep everybody posted. But so far, one bear down. We got a few more tags.
One glorious.
We'll see what happens.
Glorious bear down.
Yep. We've got a new area we're going to go to 4 miles from here.
4 miles to a different canyon.
Where we've never been before.
Hopefully there's some sheds there.
There's no sheds here. It's weird.
There's got to be some sheds somewhere. There's got to be a lot of sheds somewhere.
But we'll get out there and we'll do it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Stay gritty.